truth to know, in love and honesty to grow, and living just and true, great lofty heights attain, to build a nation where peace and justice shall reign. Amen.
Domenica Massa.
We also like to have the following persons on the high table. The chairman, Engineer Zamani Duna Ishaya. Engineer Anthony Abolari. Emo Abino.
And the last, put your hands together for our past president. You're most welcome, sir.
Of the technical subcommittee.
So I want to call on the chairman, technical committee, Engineer Professor S.V. Twangi FNSC. Please put your hands together for the chairman.
Members of the high table, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday we had an interesting event here. Of course, this is the first in the series of the 2016-2017 monthly NSA workshops and conferences. And this one in particular is part of pre-inauguration activities of the 30th President of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Engineer Otis Anyeji. We had a welcome address from the chairman, 2016-17 monthly NSA workshops and conferences committee, our own engineer, Professor David Esesobo, MNSC. The opening address was presented by the president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, who also was the chairman of the opening ceremony, Engineer Otis Anyeji. He also declared the 2016-2017 monthly NSA workshops and conferences open. We had 4 keynote addresses. The first from Dr. Umar Musa Mustafa, Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Governing Council, the University of Ibadan, the premier university, established 1948. The second was from the Executive Secretary of the National Universities Commission, Professor Julius Okojie, who was represented by the Deputy Executive Secretary, Ibrahim I. Danya. The third keynote address was from the Honorable Minister of State for Education, Professor Anthony Gozie Anwuka, represented by Mr. S.G. Chega, Director, Technology and Science Education, Federal Ministry of Education, Abuja. And last but not the least, we had a keynote address from Engineer Kashim A. Ali, FNSC, MNI, the President of Koren. We had 4 paper presentations. Engineer Professor Fonsho Falade, the President of African Association for Engineering Education, presented a paper on the theme of the workshop. That was followed by the paper from Professor Mohammed Hamisu Mohammed, the former Vice Chancellor, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University, Engineer Barrister, Quantity Surveyor, Dokbe Oribiaku, presented a paper on developing entrepreneurial engineers. He is the World Bank consultant on safe corridors and CEO Tech Grade Consulting Limited. And of course, there was the paper by from the Executive Director Engineering Personnel and Citizen Civil Rights Development Initiative, an NGO on engineering regulation, reforming the regulator and the regulated. Of course, you know the person that presented that paper. We also have, of course, a lot of organizations partnering with us in this workshop, and we want to appreciate all of you for partnering with the Nigerian Society of Engineers in this very workshop. We want to appreciate the National Universities Commission, Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, National Board for Technical Education, University of Lagos. These are universities where the vice chancellors are engineers. And I think the planners decided deliberately to partner with these institutions for the fact that their vice chancellors are engineers. The University of Lagos, University of Ibadan, University of Benin, Ahmadu Bello University, Federal University of Agriculture, Makurdi, Federal University of Okari, they all partnered with the Nigerian Society of Engineers to host this event. Now, I told you that 4 papers were presented, and there were highlights of these papers. We are not reading the communique to you now, but we will just tell you the highlights of the papers that were presented. Mr. Chairman, may I crave your indulgence to call on Professor Oladiran Abubakar to just give us the highlights of the papers that were presented yesterday.
Sir, honorable members of the high table, ladies and gentlemen, as rightly presented by the chairman technical subcommittee of this, the committee in charge of this workshop, we had 4 papers presented. The first paper by Professor Funsho Falade focuses more on engineering education. It traced the practice outside the country on the way the engineering education is structured, and try to highlight the fact that there are conventional educational institutions and specialized educational institutions, and that outside the country there are different approaches to regulating such institutions, which he said is not in existence in Nigeria. He also lamented about the fact that the practical component of our training in the country, which comprises of 4 weeks of practical exposures comprising of SciWest at various stages, is actually suffering due to the fact that there is no placement of our students. While looking at the issue of regulations, he emphasized the fact that the quality assurance is actually based on the regulation by the 2 organizations that we have, that is the National University Commission and the Council for Regulation of Engineering, and actually went as far as recommending that if it is possible, there should be a unified accreditation criteria by both Koren and NUC. He went as far as showing us what the criteria for NUC is and what it is for Koren. He advocated for a synergy and not conflict between the stakeholders, that is the NUC, Koren, MBT, and the rest of them. The paper by Professor Mohammed Hamisu Muhammad also looked at the educational sector and actually commended our educational system for finding a solution to the quagmire that bedevil BEng education and HND by the provision of these PGD linkages. At the end of it all, they identified the challenges facing education as the the academic calendar that is often disrupted due to the activities of the unions, inadequate funding, which he felt goes around, and actually commended the latest intervention in terms of the funding through the need assessment. He lamented on the very weak linkage between industry, universities, and government. He also lamented on the poor municipal services, which he said is actually vested on the vice chancellors, whereas he feels the appropriate authority should have taken such a burden off the vice chancellors to actually make for better efficiency. He also lamented on the very infrequent review of the curriculum in our higher education institutions. And he finally concluded that the last of the challenges is the fact that most of the entrants into our higher educational institutions are actually ill-prepared for it, citing the example of people who scored higher in the qualifying exams and then ended up dropping out in the first year in the university. The paper by engineer barrister Tokpe Oribiaku focuses more on entrepreneurship. He gave us the background and eventually gave us a case study of an inventor who actually invented a bagless vacuum cleaner in UK and the challenges the man went through before he eventually break through and then started making money. He emphasized the fact that entrepreneurs should really have certain basic entrepreneurial characteristics which should involve patience, perseverance, innovation, risk-taking, among others. In conclusion, he asserted that engineers of today must really have what we call entrepreneurial mindset. They should have a very strong technical background. They should have high business organization prowess, and they should always be alert to opportunities in their surroundings. He also looked at the curricula and said that the non-technical component of our curricula should actually be enhanced by giving more prominence to economics and management courses. He also said that even in our pedagogy, emphasis should actually be to promote creativity, initiatives, and entrepreneurship, rather than the spoon-feeding process that currently is the vogue. Our own Professor Simon Iswange actually focuses more on the regulation component of the theme. Before going into the business, he actually brings out the significance of the number 30, since our president is actually the 30th president of this great society. He laid emphasis on the expectations, that the expectation is high, and we pray God to actually assist the president in achieving this. He sees him as the Noah that will actually take us from the flood into the promised land. He saw him as Elijah and the rest of them. But now to the real thing, he was looking at regulation and actually said, yes, we have a regulatory body and we have regulations, but that there are shortcomings in those regulations. Specifically, he stated that as we speak now, there is no regulation, comprehensive regulation for engineering procurement, for maintenance and infrastructure of public assets, for manufacturing and production of engineering goods and services. And that for our regulation to actually be strong enough, all these loopholes should be blocked. He also itemized the fact that there is no regulation for education of technologists, technicians, craftsmen, and educators. We mean those who actually educate the craftsmen in our various institutions. And he canvassed that the profession should actually move away from the so-called co-regulations, in which case we conduct regulation along with other organizations. He canvassed for the fact that there is need to initiate discussion on organizational changes in the structure of NSC and that there should be a streamlining in the relationship between Koren and Society of Engineers. While the discussion on the paper, there was this statement that there is need for a comprehensive database of engineering personnel and engineering firms to be residing with Council for Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria. So these are just the highlights that we could capture in the papers as presented. Thank you very much for your attention.
So Sisobo to give his own remark.
For instance, Section 3, why the preference of foreign firms to national firms in the award of government contracts and how to overcome it. Because if $60 is equivalent to one minimum wage, every $100 given to a foreign firm means we are depriving one Nigerian a place, a job placement. Again, probably section CDK 1, CDK section 1 and 2 may also look at it that you have for the lawyers, law school after graduation. For the medical practitioners, you have internship, engineer. Where are we? Because nowadays, industrialists or those employer of labor, what they seek for is job-ready engineers. How do you get them? That could start as to bridge the gap. Again, probably in section 1 and 7, we look at establishment or formation of association for engineering education. That will really combine Koren, NSC, ASEN, Academic of Engineering, and others together. Probably in section 5, we also look at breaches of laws or non-adherence of regulatory laws by foreign firms, quacks in engineering, education, training, and practice. And the last, I got that this morning when one of us, Engineer Isa Emabena, and NTA this morning interview why the role of Koren is given to BP, that Bureau for Public Procurement, for instance, in determining those to be awarded engineering contracts. So I know quite all right we'll be able to do that extensively. Once again, I wish every one of us a fruitful discussions and short deliberations. Thank you very much.
And while he was giving his remark, an eminent personality entered this hall. He is the secretary of the Committee of Vice Chancellors. All the Vice Chancellors of Nigerian universities put together, he's the executive secretary. And former Vice Chancellor of University of Ibadan. Ife, University of Ife. At least I remember that he's the former Vice Chancellor. Please put your hands together for Engineer Professor Fabo Rode. As we usher him to the mic table, please. Ushers.
President Umuyiwa Anade Ajibola, Fellow Academy of Engineering, Fellow Nigerian Society of Engineers, Vice President Babagana Mohammed, FNSC, Vice Vice President Gian Domenico Massari, FNSC, the Chairman of the monthly conferences organizing committee, Professor Esezebo. I couldn't quite say FNSC, but I hope I'm wrong. And so I say FNSC. Engineer Professor Mike Faborede, Fellow Academy of Engineering, Fellow Nigerian Society of Engineers. Engineer Tony Abolari, Chairman Petroleum Division of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, FNSC, and former Chairman of the Society of Petroleum Engineers Nigeria chapter. Eminent professors on the high table and erudite fellows of the Nigerian Society of Engineers on the high table, fellows and members of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I think that because of you all, I can very confidently say that we are starting well. Engineering is about all sorts of things, you know. We think of the work of our hands. But engineering is first and foremost about the work of our brains, our intellect. And that is why we thought it fit that our starting point should be an occasion to review what is happening with us in engineering education, what is happening with us in engineering practice, and what is happening with us in the regulation of the engineering environment. And we really didn't have much time to put this thing together because we had been at work since 2014 with a think tank that had been brainstorming and looking at all kinds of issues that were considered germane to the development of engineering in Nigeria. We knew, yes, we really needed to look at so many issues critically, bring out what are considered the nagging problems and the solutions thereto and how to pursue those solutions. But it was not until October of last year when we had a workshop on the iron and steel industry. That workshop was championed by Professor Esezebo. And when we started, between me and him and the immediate past president, we were worried about what to do to really bring to the front burner the situation of the iron and steel industry in the country and what could be done to get it going, to release employment and so on, but also, most importantly, to respond to the anomalous development in that ministry, whereby a new law for the industry was being brought out. And they made certain provisions that were targeted at making sure that those developments did not happen. So we eventually settled that, well, we know, yes, that all these things that you want to do, two people can sit down and really craft them out. But let us bring the stakeholders together. Let's get them together and hear from what everybody is saying, even those who had divergent opinion. Let's try to get them together so that there could be a convergence and then we move together. And we urged for prudence in management of the financing of that workshop. And at the end of the day, we had a beautiful workshop here that was attended by the secretary to the government. In all of that, we ended up spending about 2.2 million naira. You know, and what that did for me particularly, if we managed our affairs differently. And so, immediately after that successful Iron and Steel Conference, I had to put together a team to draw up a schedule for conferences that will deal on problems in different sectors of the Nigerian economy, you know, with regards to engineering. And since we'll be starting a new administration, that we need to start with an overview of the state of engineering education, engineering practice, and engineering regulation, which is really what it's all about. And I'm happy that the committee has worked so hard to bring the relevant stakeholders and interest groups together, and we have contributions from the various constituencies. And I believe that the communique we are going to come up with, given these perspectives that Prof had taken us through with regards to what happened yesterday, I believe we will have a good communique that will serve not only as a roadmap, but also as a shopping list that we are going to use to engage various government and statutory and corporate authorities to see how we can begin to close the gaps that are being identified in both the educational sector, in the practice sector, and also in the regulatory sector. I'm happy that many of us turned up again today to see this thing to a conclusion, and I do greatly appreciate that. And I'm seizing the opportunity to also put all of us on notice that this will be happening every month by the grace of God and your support. In February, as was said yesterday, we are going to have a conference on sustainable development goals. In March, we are going to have a conference on petroleum subsidy. Well, not only petroleum subsidy, but we're going to trash out all the issues of petroleum production, refining, and distribution, and various costs applicable. We're going to end up knowing exactly what it should cost us to have petroleum products determined professionally, technically, and scientifically. And after that, there are, in fact, we have more conferences than there are months in the year. And so it means that in some months we are likely going to have 2 of such conferences. Of course, somebody might be asking now, so what happens to our annual conference? Fine, our annual conference is still there, but one of the reasons why we insisted that we have these conferences every month is that we are bigger. We, Nigerian Society of Engineers, that has a mandate to look after all the engineering disciplines and serve as an umbrella organization for all engineers, is bigger than having one conference a year. And so we are going to have our end of year conference, which also serves us as a kind of relaxation event, and we will use that as an opportunity to again bring up all the issues we've taken in the various conferences we would have had earlier in the year, to bring them up again, you know, compile all the transactions we have had in the year and highlight them again during that our annual conference. So we'll try and round up in good time today, and we'll invite all of us here again tomorrow, because the Automotive Engineers Institute, a division of NSE, is having a workshop here tomorrow that will deal on automotive garages standards. They want to produce standards for automotive maintenance garages. And so the workshop is happening here tomorrow. And not all of us are automotive engineers, but all of us drive automotive vehicles. All of us have problems with maintaining them. All of us deal with fake mechanics, help sanitize that sector, and also help our people begin to consider that as a worthwhile area of engagement and investment, because of its unregulated nature and because there are so many parks that operate under the trees and so on and so forth. Just to let you know that the kind of environment we're going to have from now on, by the grace of God, is that we have to be coming together quite often to trash out our professional problems, get them properly documented, and consign them to the annals of our society for reference, you know, subsequently by anybody concerned. And I think that is helpful to us. That is, it gives dignity to what we are doing. And I thank you for coming so far with that journey, and urge you to please stick on with us as we try to bring up some of these new ways of doing things. Thank you, and remind you, tomorrow evening We have a cocktail here at 6 o'clock, and then on Saturday we have the inauguration ceremony, investiture ceremony that starts at 10 o'clock at the International Conference Center. God bless all of us, and thank you.
Please put your hands together for Mr. President. Thank you. That we'll be having workshops every month for this year. And he said, we are starting with that of education because, in his words, engineering is first the work of our brains before our hands. Hence, we have started with education.
What mission you feel we can know about you?
I'm Engineer Haji Mustafa Ineda. I am with the Transmission Company of Nigeria. I'm Engineer A.J. Agabi, Professional Development Department, Korean.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. We are just doing a brief session.
Hello. At the end of the sessions, please, every session is expected to make a presentation. Why, and then how, the solutions. So the coordinators will make the presentations. Thank you.
Yes, as I was saying, the approach is that we discuss the issues. The approach is that we discuss the issues.
May God bless us.
Challenges and
Can we
engineering practice? I think I should ask. Let's have a quick tell us what you think engineering practice is.
Yeah, I think generally engineering practice means the knowledge, the art of natural sciences being put into maximum benefit of humanity. This to use the principles of sciences to be useful to humanity in solving the
Of knowledge and learning to provide solutions to problems. You know, there are so many types of problems in life. We engineering provide solutions.
So, it's just a humble appeal because so I'm appealing to CDK section 3.
No, but this
Quite overloaded here. Why not? Hello.
So, as we said, so we are thinking of something that will be, different from the issue of recommendation, observation recommendation. We should also probably evolve something like action plan, and people should follow up on some of those recommendations. So now we will be looking at quality. I think there's also something that's in January 20. Yeah. Engineering. There's a folder. Okay, no, it's not.
If I may just add, while we are talking about entry, we should also think about entrepreneurship, because that's where we are going. From all that is happening now.
Engineering education, the whole of Africa, from Cape Coast to Egypt, engineer Professor Falade, FNSC, to the high table, sir. Please put your hands together for
fellow presenters, ladies and gentlemen. I'm standing as a coordinator of the syndicate session on manufacturing and vending engineering, and I need to give some highlights as to what we discussed and agreed that should be done about these two aspects of engineering practice in view of the need we have in the country presently, both to make more jobs available for engineers and to improve our economy. So, as a matter of obvious understanding, we know that manufacturing is clearly an aspect of engineering that takes a lot of manpower and also provides valuable goods for the society. Where we do not have much ground is the aspect of vending engineering. In our discussion, we actually found out that one, there is no recognized means of identifying what is required for an individual to undertake vending engineering, which is to say there are no policies and there are no regulations that specifies or recommends that a vending engineer is required in any aspect of the practice of engineering profession in Nigeria. Now, we said here, please up, that vending engineering can be defined as, that's not the place to stop. Okay, can be defined as the engineer's interface with the end user at the point of sale of a manufactured product in order to enable the prospective user to understand factors for choosing, use, value, costs, safety, and limitations of that product. So, what we are saying in essence is that there are certain products of engineering that at the point of dispensing it to the end user requires the presence of an engineer to educate that individual about the product so that they can properly select what is useful, what is within their cost range, and what can serve them in the application they intend to use it for. So in this way, somebody will not buy the right product for the wrong application, and then at the end of the day possibly say that the product was not good. So this is normally required for products that have a lot of technical specifications and judgments before you can apply them. But what we need to do for manufacturing to thrive and also prosper in Nigeria, and vending engineering to become part and parcel of the practice of engineering in this country. So let's go, sir. On a global scale, that whereas in engineering education of Nigerian engineers is relatively well undertaken with respect to these two aspects, particularly manufacturing. In the area of practice of manufacturing, with the corresponding engineering solutions, we only chose those challenges that has engineering. We can use technology to run government contracts particularly, and that will help to even out a number of things. So we propose that if technology is being adopted in running most of the government activities, it will push technology out of the way for industry, and not only industry, not for manufacturing, not only manufacturing, but many other things to thrive. Secondly, infrastructure is very high on the priority. Availability of power, transportation network, and transport facilities and communication. This will very much enhance manufacturing. And the engineering solution is that we should work on all the power sources, particularly the renewable energy sources. We are talking about local development of this, as well as road networks development, particularly that local engineers should be engaged in the development of this infrastructure. Then maintenance and spare parts availability is the third very high priority factor, in the sense that to keep these machineries working, you must have to keep them maintained. And we suggest that to have that done, we should have a great number of foundries, machine shops, fabrication workshops all around the country. Then the fourth one, which fits to the third one, is raw materials availability. I agree we have a number of raw materials, but they are not developed. So many are imported, and that increases the cost of manufacturing. So we said if we can develop our local raw materials and reduce the amount of importation, we will enhance the performance of our manufacturing. Now, the engineering solution there, which is not written down, is that we should go into more researches on our raw material sources and their processing. It's an engineering solution. So more investment as well as researches. Then the fifth one is the absence of clusters and industrial park. Because when we build clusters and industrial parks, they are going to reduce the cost of even things like power. People can share a number of things, and manufacturing will be enhanced. For vending engineering, we are saying that to develop it in Nigeria, we need the following points. Sir? Now, so for vending engineering, we are suggesting that there should exist policies that will be eventually used to regulate the point of sales of engineering materials and products. Things like building materials, electrical cables and things like that should be regulated at the point of sales. We rely on this grade of professionals to help them in getting the right products from manufacturing. Thank you. In conclusion, we have said here that manufacturing and vending engineering should be developed in Nigeria as a means of improving the national economy, empowering engineers, and creating a stronger industry to academia and academia relationship. Thanks very much.
And I discussed it with them. How do we regulate? At least, if we cannot do everything, let's start from somewhere. Those automotive spare parts dealers, under vending, how do we regulate these people? Is it not possible to register them? And then just like they do in other professions, the pharmacists and so on, the chemist stores, for you to set up a chemist store, you must have a registered pharmacist there. All these people involved in building materials, we can cash in on this building collapse thing and begin to regulate what happens in that sector. Is it not possible?
In today's Nigeria, the bane of our problem, that is, we are not a productive economy. And we should move towards making Nigeria a productive economy so that we can create jobs and let the industry thrive. So, and that's why all this, you noted the points, but I think that's the first point that we then emphasize the importance of manufacturing and vending. Okay, so just a quick reaction to those points.
Really, that's actually what should be done when the regulation is in place. That you don't regulate what you have not, organized. So there should be an organization, and properly the personnel that are, or the people who are the. Okay, what we actually advocate is that any person can sell. Any person can do the business of selling an engineering product, but the person who should supervise or give the backing to that businessman, or who should guide and direct what is done in that place, should be a professional in that area of technology, maybe electronics or if it's, for instance, okay, if it's a medical equipment, for instance, the person may not necessarily have to be a medical doctor, but he has to be an engineer who is informed about the operation and the principles of that equipment, and should be able to tell people this and that is what it can do. So we are saying in effect that for all things, even automobiles, automobile parts, or building materials, yes, clearly, cements are not just the same. If we have a piece of a component and it's made of steel, all steel are not the same. So somebody should be there who says, yes, this thing is made of steel, but this steel is of this alloy composition, and it has these properties. It can last for this, length of time if it is used. If it is going to fail, this is a fashion is going to fail. And once you start seeing this kind of symptoms, know that his life is gone. That's the kind of thing we are talking about. So the person who has that competency, that knowledge, that background, should be at the point of sale. And if that's done, so let me lastly say that when we are talking about manufacturing, the end point is just two. That one, this country should have products that are good for them at good prices. And the people producing it should also not necessarily have to be foreigners. Nigerians can do it. And so engineers should be at the forefront. And that's the whole essence of what we have put together. But the factors militating against this happening is what we are targeting in our report.
Okay. Thank you very much. To prosecute it in the same way for us to reclaim that aspect of engineering. I know there are various issues of purchasers, groups that are already, they are already lined up. So we have to articulate our position properly to be able to claim that aspect. Thank you very much.
All protocols respected. I'm Engineer Shaya Zamani, coordinating for the breakout session 2. We dealt with innovating the engineering curriculum to meet contemporary industry demand. Next slide. Basically, a world-class curriculum is supposed to inspire and challenge the learner to prepare for the future. And in doing that, the curriculum should be balanced in knowledge, skill, and attribute. So we identified some issues. First is that the industry is not satisfied with the product from our institution due to skill gaps requirement. The skill gaps could be technical engineering, entrepreneurship, legal, economic. And the second issue is insufficient laboratory, teaching and research equipment. Some are obsolete, they are not there in the right numbers, and the quality of some of the products we have, because they are imported from different sources, are in doubt. We also have the problem of placement. Most of the students that are posted, that are supposed to be in the industry to acquire some technical skill, are in most cases not placed, and where they are placed, the placement is not appropriate with their discipline or interest. Skill gap analysis, where the key stakeholders are there to make significant input so that there will be alignment of the skills vis-a-vis the need in the industries. And there should also be enabling law that will kind of encourage employees to engage Nigerian graduates, and they will be able to acquire skill in a well-supervised manner, such that they will make the necessary impact in the society. Such practices is already in place by other professionals. Take for example, the law school, where the lawyers are well trained for the challenges in the society before they even serve the nation, the NYC, and before they go into the society. Similar case with the pharmacists and the doctors. So we're advocating similar approach. Remember the case of the SDG. We don't know where it is, but it may be modified or reformed to suit the ongoing circumstance that we have. We also propose that the government should engage local engineers to create space for industrial training. If local engineers are engaged, most of the industries will be active, and as such, the large numbers of students that we have in the institutions that are supposed to go for such skill acquisition training will have space, and the engineers will have been encouraged to be able to accommodate them, to coach and mentor them so that they will be fit for purpose after training. The regulatory bodies should ensure institutions have adequate equipment, facilities, and personnel for engineering training. So we are calling for effective mentoring from current NUC and other regulatory bodies, so that the institutions that will be accredited to undertake engineering education will have been well equipped with tools and qualified personnel to be able to deliver the training as well as the skill and attribute that is desired from these institutions. And similarly, we also recommend improvement on the curriculum delivery by continuous evaluation, because it was also argued that it's not that the curriculum is inadequate, even in the light of skills acquisition, but the delivery had to be checked by the regulatory body to ensure that it is adequately delivered. Institutions should adopt innovative teaching methods like project or team-based learning, which may include local specifications like accommodating local skills, knowledge, and also build the capacity of the educators and other stakeholders. To do this, to implement the proposed solution, we are asking NSC to create a curriculum reform or improvement team. The last slide. In conclusion, say the skills gap can be addressed using the curriculum both at pre and post-graduation level. So we are looking at industrial training during teaching.
Our engineers are not well trained, and those they bring in are not better trained. Is it possible for governments to ensure that for you to bring in anybody from outside, you must have employed about 5 from inside? At least when we talk of local content, it should not be on materials alone. It should be in terms of manpower as well.
Handled in another session, just acknowledge that it's already incorporated so that we don't have repetitions. I think later the entire sessions will be harmonized so that we can have a summary that is not going to be segmented, but that will flow across all the various sessions. So thank you very much. I think if the next session is ready, we can go straight. Licensing and code of ethics. Who is presenting? Okay. Yes.
Gentlemen, as its syndicate C, studying about engineering licensing and code of ethics. Slides. The question of licensing, specifically is qualification for licensing and processes to license. And the key issues in the various bullet points: what are the prerequisites, what are the engineering education involved, and engineering training to be able to qualify for license. And in terms of processes, what are the agencies, what are the material requirements, the specific processes, the licensing duration, and major challenges. Next slide, please. Now I'll jump this slide, go to the next 2 slides. The participants, as indicated, I won't bother to, I can come back to that, but I'd like to acknowledge the contribution of everyone in that team. The next one, please. So we're going to pick some of the issues, the challenges, and then the recommendations later. So in terms of preparation for licensing, the school curricula are so far proven inadequate in terms of engineering. The details were discussed, but we cannot list them here. The mentoring is a major challenge. It's like if they succeed, they succeed. If they fail, they fail. And then the school to industry linkage is very poor. Some of our participants indicated how they enjoyed being trained as engineers overseas. And this parental collaboration by the mothers and fathers, in quotes, that are supposed to be bringing them up as children in the engineering family was mentioned, and it was very interesting. Students know before time, before they graduate, all that they need to know to become properly licensed. They already know the expectations of industries before they ever leave school. So they already meet those expectations without leaving the school at all. Those are best practices. Next, please. Okay, leave it there. Yeah. Okay, so in terms of license again, the current license appeared to have been devalued. And it appears to be income driven. A lot of the ministries, departments, and agencies are no longer for professional practice and growth. Even the projects that were being executed by them before now are no longer executed at that level. Therefore, there's no way they can grow. But in best practice, these licenses are progressively enforced. Quackery is progressively discouraged to a halt, and corporate approvals of works and reports are based on internal knowledge and control. That is to say, a project or a report that is submitted, it is the engineers that are internal to the organization. Indiscriminate admission of qualified engineers, the organizations, particularly in the industries, they just bring those people in the name of whatever. Admissions of non-qualified and non-engineers. A number of people who are just clerks, wherever they are. And bids include certified project execution personnel. Next slide, please. And the code of conduct, the code of ethics, we discussed at length, but can be summarized as decreasing publicity in terms of just letting people know that they exist, where they are, and so on. And some others, which used to be included in our traditional handouts, either from NSC or from Korea, from employment letters and so on, are no longer so. And a lot of people do not refer to them any longer. Once you don't refer to them, people forget easily. And the result is that it does not matter any longer. Finally, recommendations. Industry, academia, and government joint board of practice engineers for the development of curricula at the different levels and for certification. What that means is the rift or the conflict that we currently know about would disappear if there is a joint working together. The details can be worked out. Continuous logging of progress of students. Students often are not followed up, and reports are just cooked reports. And the result is that the student is half-baked at the end of the day. Licensing as part of regulations and control should be unique, where somebody can just go and photocopy license and change the name on the photocopy or duplicate it whichever way. There must be a way that licenses can be authenticated and are authentic. National security enhancement require effective control of project teams. People who claim to be project teams are just walk to sites and you are not sure whether they are members of the project team. Or indeed, even if they are crooks into the place. Lastly, a number of other things. Economic sabotage, it has been mentioned as part of the financial drainages that we have through foreign investments. And economic sabotage also through quacks who are not allowing the professionals to get involved. Many laws are outdated and need review. Non-professionals heading professional MDs and industries should be considered unethical and treated as such. Mentoring of young engineers is the only guarantee for the medium and long-term succession plans. MDAs need to provide engineering development if employing developing engineers, not stagnating engineers. Thank you very much.
It is very, very important that the moment a student goes into the university to try to study engineering or any professional course for that matter, the practicing group, like Nigerian Institute of Engineers or CORE, should immediately begin to identify with the student. We should encourage them to have the students, like engineering students body they normally have in university. We should also encourage them to be student members of Nigerian Society of Engineers. And we should create programs for them to do, even as students. And when they finish as students and go become graduates, we should have a ceremony that will give them an induction to become graduate members of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. We believe that this will give a kind of a psychological mode of belonging to a profession for which they now begin to build up and know that in another 4 or 5 years they will have to go into a form of interview that will enable them to become corporate members. This is gradually bringing up the individual to become a core professional and belong to that profession. The mentoring, that's the professional mentoring as it were. You are ready now? Yes. Good. Next one, I think I'm through with this. Mentoring at present is actually lacking in this direction. If I could add up that issue of mentoring in respect of the student, graduate, and eventually when it becomes a corporate member, it should find it very easy now to know exactly what NSC is supposed to be doing and what CORE is supposed to be doing, and they can now practice along the line with that. We also came up with the idea that there are a lot, my presentation may not go along with what you have. I'm just trying to give a summary. We also went along to say clearly that there has been issues where you have a gap between the senior members and the new young engineers, for example. There are a lot of senior engineers who are actually senior citizens of this country today, who have a lot of experience and they should have opportunity to mentor the younger ones. They should have the opportunity of transferring that knowledge they have gained over the years to the younger ones. We believe that NSC should now put forward a kind of a forum where those kind of people can mentor the younger one. It could be a form of training. It could be a form of workshops to which they be invited. For the senior ones who have corporate bodies like consultants and so on, we also think that they should find programs to key in with the younger ones where you can have kind of in-house training for them. In essence, we are recommending things like postgraduate schools for engineers that can be manned by these senior engineers. Mentoring again needs to include entrepreneurship in engineering curriculum. As it is today, there's a general belief, and I think I also agree with that belief, that most of our graduates as of today, they're not employable. What do you mean by a graduate is not employable? It means that he cannot fit into the industry the moment he's brought in there. He needs a period of kind of a training, a period of mentorship, a period of training to be able to add value to that establishment. We think we have to find a way to shorten this as much as possible by including in the curriculum right at the school entrepreneurship, such that by the time a graduate comes out as an engineer, he should be in a position to begin to employ himself, except for the fact that he doesn't have the finances. He should already have a knowledge of what he can do, except that he's now looking for who can give him the finances. And then we can now encourage government to begin to encourage those kind of people to create small-scale industries and a few things like that. We learned recently that the government wants to give 5,000 to unemployed. If we had a scheme where you know that the graduates are ready for entrepreneurship skills, it would be better to put that kind of money into that project so that you know you are not just giving money for people, but you are bringing them to get them ready for tomorrow's industries. I think this will also pay us a lot. If the curriculum in the schools is made such a way that entrepreneurship is built into it, we believe it should be a course right from 200 levels to the 500 levels. It should be a continuous course for the students so that it becomes an alternative. Once you come out, you are not getting any job somewhere, you should use the entrepreneurship skills to create one for yourself and even become employer of labor. The next one. We also believe that current should take seriously the issue of entrepreneurship. In short, current should begin to look critically into the curriculum that is being used in our universities today for our graduates and factor into it things that will make the graduate to become useful the moment he comes out of school. We think that the end of year projects that students normally do on graduation should actually be, I think that's a sign that my time is up. So, well, basically speaking, mentoring and entrepreneurship is very key, is very important. We should find a way to deliberately factor it into the education we are giving to the students. We should find a way to give the opportunities when they eventually come out of the school. I think this is a key issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mentoring. I'm of opinion, my name is Edinola Dikukwamagogage. On the issue of mentoring, I have other opinion. NSC should look at the graduates, unemployed graduates, that they should attach them, there should be a database, they should attach them with experienced engineer, and NSC should fund it. Instead of them spending much money on committees. So those engineers are outside there. Some of them are bankers now and go. If NSC can do it with collaboration with Core, so that if they get experience, they will be able to develop economy. Thank you.
Okay. Young engineers are waiting for, like Engineer Jibola said, the jobs are not even there for the experienced engineers to take these young engineers on. But the young engineers can do what they can do is get somebody, just go there and tell the Oga, I just want to be coming to your office. I don't want money. Don't pay me.
Okay.
Don't pay me. I want to learn.
Okay,
I want
Prof.
to volunteer.
Okay. Prof. Call. It can be something that NSC initiates and even says to government. So,
Mr. Chairman, members of the high table, ladies and gentlemen, our section, our syndicate group worked on quality control and quality assurance. The name of the coordinator and the co-coordinator is there. Next slide. That's the name of group members. We are appreciative of the contribution of experienced engineers that we have in our group. Next. The issues for discussions, we are looking at quality assurance and control from two perspectives. Quality assurance and control in engineering practice, in engineering education, please. And then quality assurance and control in engineering practice. Under education, we are looking at internal quality assurance. We are looking at internal quality assurance by higher education institutions, quality assurance by regulators, NUC and Korean accreditation, perception of graduate by employers, then quality assurance and international perspective. Again, we look at quality assurance and control in engineering practice. Next slide.
So we just have the bullets of the main issues.
Okay, sir. We appreciate the fact that when it comes to practice, that there are quality assurance. I mean, there is quality in most of the designs, but what we realize now is there is cutting of corners here and there, and that's why we are saying that there should be the program of works for any engineering work should be made available to the ERM, that is the engineering regulation monitors, and there should be a random checking for compliance. What we are saying now is if the ERM actually have the program of work, then they can from time to time be checking to make sure that there is no cutting of corners. Then we also said that where you have a situation for any project, there will be consultants, there will be ERM to oversee the whole thing, but there could also be violation of those things, and where such happens, we feel they should be adequately sanctioned. Not only sanctioned, we feel such sanction should be publicized the way it is normally done, so that people will know that if you cut corners, if you are caught, then you will not only be disciplined, but you will also be publicly shamed. We feel that the ERM, the way it is not adequately empowered to be able to actually carry out these quality assurance activities, and that's why we feel they should be well empowered. We also give option that yes, we are looking at the issue of compliance, but we feel it could be done, especially when you are approaching reputable organization to actually fund ERM activities. At a point, we toy with the idea that, look, could ERM actually be hard to endorse payment schedule, but we feel there is enough bureaucracy, delay payment, and so we said that should not actually happen. And we also feel that there should be something like double-checking the consultant jobs, that where the project is quite heavy, we shouldn't rely only on the consultants, we should have other senior consultants that will probably have a look at what the consultant has done. You have external examination system, you have quality assurance in terms of probably assessment of lecturers, but they are not. So we are suggesting that they should be reinforced in school. We feel all the quality assurance system on lecturers should be, adequately enforced. For example, part of the way to measure whether a lecturer is doing his work is his products, the graduates. There should be a way to actually assess those graduates. We also feel that their performance in the lectures should be a way to assess lecturers. Some of the system that is on ground should actually be adjusted, like the present form that is available for students to fill to assess their lecturer is such that they could be abused by students. And that's why we feel they should be designed in such a way that they could actually get what we need from them. There is this complaints here and there that the graduates actually doesn't measure up, that there is no performance, and we trace the reason to incessant strikes by the unions. And that's why we are feeling one of the ways to do that is to ensure that, especially this present government, interface with the appropriate authority. Federal Ministry of Education should engage the labor unions, labor and productivity should equally engage the labor union to avert the disruption of our calendars. We feel the most serious thing that is happening to our curriculum is that disruptions. Then people complain about labor accreditation by Korean and NUC, but we feel it's desirable, so it should actually stay. Quality assurance by consumers. We feel there is mechanism to actually assess the rating of our graduates by consumers via this issue of employers rating, which Korean accreditation team and NUC accreditation team normally require. But we feel it's like the thing is turning ceremonious. So it should be made really a serious thing. That if we don't actually have record of what your employers of your product are saying, it could have serious consequences. So that will enable a feedback system that will actually make the system to actually be able to beef up the quality of their product. Secondly, we feel it should be made mandatory for all higher institutions to actually create a feedback system on their website. In which case, if anybody goes to their website and possibly have their employer, if you have any negative comment, you can easily feed that into their website. We feel the global acceptability of our graduates should be enhanced in a way by making sure we improve our global ranking. Then we feel the effort to actually join Washington Accord and Asian Pacific Roundtable should be encouraged. We also strongly solicit the continuous training of engineering personnel as basis for continuous project development and licensing. So we also have a table that shows some of the activities and those people we feel should be responsible and the action plan by the NSA. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And we don't really quite believe that there is serious problem as regards the quality of the graduates. Yes, there are some people who said there was interview conducted out of probably about 400, there's only 5 that is qualified. We also have a situation where a senior colleagues talked about, being in charge of this Korean accreditation, Korean exam for about 2-3 years and couldn't see anybody passing those things. We feel these are exceptions. If you are talking about general thing, what affected the quality of our product is this disruption in our curriculum. If those curriculum are seamless, there will be bad product, but there are also very good products from our universities. We have instances of where our graduates will simply pick their BH and go outside the country and excel. We have, many cases of such instances. So that's why we don't actually believe that there is that terrible situation with our, education. We feel, yes, curriculum is disrupted, is bringing it down, but, it's not really as terrible as we are portraying it. There is nowhere in the world where you take fresh product from the university and then they fit into industry straight. No. There has to be a deliberate attempt to make sure they acquire necessary practical exposure before they can fit into the industry. That's my stance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just before the presentation, I'd like to quickly recognize the presence of the Deputy President of the Nigerian Sector of Engineers, Mokolu, FNSC. Please put your hands together for him. Deputy President, Nigerian Sector of Engineers, Engineer Olumi. You're welcome, sir.
Advancement of engineering education and practice. We have 12 participants from about 5 groups from the academia, industry, government, and also especially from a regulatory body and professional body. So I think we have balanced participation. The reality on ground from our discussion, we found out that there are poor and weak linkages between academia, industry, and government partnership, particularly with respect to engineering education and practice in Nigeria. Then we also found that industry input is almost zero in respect of engineering curriculum development. Some of the papers presented have shown it. MBT, NUC represent academia. You have the accreditation by government through NUC and also through regulatory bodies. But we clearly will not see where industry is involved, and it's a serious problem. The issues we considered during our session include the areas where partnership is necessary or where we have been seeing some, then factors militating against partnership, and then parties involved in the implementation of partnership. Identified areas where we can have partnership in those tripartite functional peer group include in curriculum development, in industrial training, in engineering postgraduate internship, in staff exchange program, like we have sabbatical leave, which is also essential for industry and government. Then research partnership in the area of development of material, product, machine and equipment, and also commercialization and patenting of research and development. Then there are so many factors, but we identify a few to be key, including that we don't have national policy on priority for research and development. Also, there is no synergy between research industries, research institutions, industries and government with respect, to engineering, education and practice. And also, we lack facilities to support the research that will really bring the expected, products. And then there is no trust. In the area of curriculum development, we recommended that NSC, since we are like the Joseph that have taken pain to be finding out what is happening, NSC and Koren, as professional and regulatory body, should alert government and industry about the non-inclusion of input from industries in curriculum development in engineering. And this will be by letters. We start by letters to them. And when we have opportunities to meet them, we start hammering this because we need industry input. Then NSA and Koren should combine to organize a stakeholders forum. There are bodies representing industry. Could involve them. It will not be too elaborate, but it's part of the awareness. And if possible, later we can throw it to government where funding may be a problem to us. To facilitate the involvement of industry in curriculum development in engineering. NUC and NBTE and maybe other related academic bodies should give strong support to ensuring industries participate in engineering curriculum development, because they could also create a problem if they want. But if they are aware and they are willing, if the willingness is there and the support, it may be possible. Then on the issue of industrial training, we notice that our industries are dying, and the available industries seems to be no more sufficient to accommodate the large number of student turnout from universities and polytechnics for IT, except some of these quack artisan shops. But when we really talk of industry to support industrial development, you see most people, students are there. When you have 100, 200, 300 students in a single department, and the number of universities and polytechnics involved in engineering, it seems there is no capacity for industries to absorb them. So we tell them to go for IT, eventually they are going nowhere. And where they go somewhere is not where they can really be given the engineering principle and relating it to practice. Also, priority should be given to the placement drive by universities, because no more placement drive. We tell students to go and search for industries where they can serve and then give them letters. It's not the best. We are to do that first, go around, see whether those industries have the capacity, create a PRO with them, a form of link with them as staff, and see the professionals there, and encourage them. And sometimes supervising students during IT is not also happening. So they go, they come back, and when they come to give report, they are just talking like an artisan or like a technician, not like an engineer, because there are no people. So we should ensure that placement drive is done. Even industrial visits from the university, all this will require fund. And for the government now, funding should really be made available to university to do this. It seems the funding are no more coming to that respect. Then student intake should be based on facility and staffing in the tertiary institution. We just bring in students, eventually we can't cope with their training. You see a single supervisor with about 20 students undergraduate, then you have 10 or another 15 postgraduate. The effectiveness can be there. And of course, eventually more staff may be required. Industry must be encouraged to accept students for IT, because many industries are developing thin skin. They don't want them. So they should be encouraged. And if they are encouraged, government should show that encouragement, and professional and regulatory body should also give that encouragement. From the government side, tax rebate can be given to industry that give attention to industrial training. And of course, for professional and regulatory bodies like NSA and CORE, we can be awarding them certificate of recognition. This can help industry to be motivated to take students for IT. Then for engineering post-graduation internship, it was a serious debate here. The first proposal is that we want to have a school, like law school like this, but some argument came up that actually CORE has a program, supervised industrial training scheme in engineering cities. But that program is dead because it's not supported. And the opinion is that that program should be activated by CORE, and we should give all support to CORE to put pressure on government to support it. If that is done, the practical training our fresh graduates will need, and the link between theory and practice will probably have been handled by that. And it may also help our fresh graduate going into industry after that type of training to get job in industry. Of course, NYSC also is recognized as key factor. We learned from the current president that he has already discussed it with NYSC. The NSC branches should follow it up through the ERM in the various branches. And NSC should be ready to post engineering graduates into engineering-based industries. Unlike in some states where there is the politics. Okay, sorry, sir. I go ahead. Then for research and partnership, research partnerships and commercialization, research should be need-driven. Industries, should really communicate with research institutions what are their challenges, support it by funding, and participate. Even while the research is going on, they come there, they see what is happening, they get the product, they take it back, and from there we can have good products coming out. And also issue of staffing, staff exchange. We talk to the extent that this issue of sabbatical leave should not be limited to university alone. And where they even practice it in university, it should not be limited to intra-university to university sabbatical leave. Academic staff should be encouraged to go to industry. Industry should be ready to take them, and to government side. And government and industry, with policy supporting, should encourage industry people to come to academics, and the government people to come to academia. And there should be such form of interaction to promote research and commercialization. Academic industry, government should partner in developing research agenda and partner till patenting and commercialization. Thank you.
Assurance says there should be separation, NUC and CORE. Why not joint the joint between the Koren and the NUC, and they will go for accreditation in just one team.
Okay.
Instead of separate.
You see, Koren is established by an act, and so is NUC. And the act establishing Koren makes it very clear, gives it a very fundamental function to decide on the standard of those who will be registered as engineers. This is a very clear function of Koren. And it is, Koren does not go into English, accreditation of English, history, accreditation of law. It is only concerned with its mandate of regulating engineering in all aspects and ramifications. And accreditation from the root, right from the technical colleges to the university, is part of Koren function. There cannot be any law compelling the two organizations to come together. They can only cooperate.
Someone is coming from industry someone is coming from industry to university to lecture. How can we put him in a level that will feel happy and will be able to impart knowledge on students? Since we have been saying that our engineers' products are not well recognized in the society. Thank you.
Academia, industry, government relations partnership. I think basically there might be need to critically look at the structure of NSC. Either we come to a way that it will be needs and product specific, the total organization, that will help a lot, unlike what we have now. Thank you.
For education in the colleges of education, both technical and general. But we have a number of professional bodies who are also interested in the quality of the products for their professional purposes. And they cannot admit somebody to be registered unless they certify that the quality is of the right standard. Koren is for us in engineering. But in my experience in the university system is that we seem to have overdone it now, that it has become a problem for the country. Everybody now is certified to be able to register builders, quality surveyors, architects, accountants, lawyers, doctors, and so on. And everybody wants to accredit in the university system. So that today, a university might spend the whole year accrediting programs and not have time even to do the main business. So the time has come that there is need to re-examine and look at it and allow NUC to coordinate and collaborate with professional bodies. There is nothing wrong in NUC ensuring that when you want to visit a university for engineering, Koren will join and then they work together. The lawyers, so this framework is already being developed. It is important for us to look at it in a way that will be beneficial to the purpose of our education, rather than everybody clinging to say engineers must have their own accreditation separately, lawyers must have their own separately, and so on and so forth. It's becoming a body, and we should also see what is the global trend in other institutions. In the American system, it is the APEX that does all the accreditation, but it must fulfill the requirements of the various groups. When you are going to engineering, you must ensure that the professional content satisfies what Koren wants. So it can be done in a harmonized way that will not defeat the purpose. That is about that.
Yes. Akibola, FMSC, FANG, the chairman of this session, Engineer Professor Fabrodi. and participants. First, I apologize for coming to this place late, but I want to assure you that I was working for engineers in another location. Yes, so, and thank you for making me your servant. I thank all of you for helping me to get this exalted position. By the grace of God, I promise that I will not disappoint you. The quick thing that I want to add to our discussion today is the fact that we need to look at the way to solve this problem in a very, very easy way. That is, an easy way to solve problems is to go to see what you have, what is the known factors. Okay, like right now, we know that what has been bedeviling our programs is that we do not have sufficient funds to prosecute our programs. And there is no society and there is no even individual that can make any meaningful progress by begging or by looking for donation. Okay, so we now have to look within ourselves to be able to see how can we fund our programs. And the first thing is that we should realize that we are very lucky to have predecessors, our forefathers, those who have been in this society, so long a time, to be able to get the current act. I tell you, there are some African countries that do not have even the equivalent of current. But then you will be surprised that they are doing more regulation in that place, informally, as a matter of policy, than those of us, than Nigeria, that has current. In these countries, you cannot do what you like in physical development. It's as a matter of policy. But our own, we have the act, but we are not doing anything. So let's look at the low-hanging fruits. The first thing is that we need to know each engineer that is registered with Corel. Number one, an engineer, they say, define an engineer. Don't let's define an engineer as a problem solver or anything like that. Anybody can solve a problem. The engineer is the person that Corel says is an engineer that is registered in Corel for that particular year. I want to put that phrase. Many of us here, if you say, who is an engineer here? Some of us will realize that you should not even be using the title of engineer because your current subscription is still outstanding, not to even talk of NSC. If you do not know where your current stamp is, if you have never gone to current to buy stamp, current seal, sorry, if you do not have your current stamp, you've not gone to current to buy your current stamp because you needed to use it. What are we talking about practice? What are we talking about being an engineer? So I want to propose that I've already shared with this president because we need to drive this. Each of us, wherever we are from today, should first know where our current stamp is. Let's take ourselves very serious. If current makes a lot of money, then all these programs that we are talking about will just fall into place. The second thing is that any decision that we make as an engineer is an engineering decision. Even for you to write a receipt, to give an invoice, that this is how much I am charging you for this particular something, to develop an agenda for a meeting, it's an engineering decision. Stamp it and seal it. Any drawing that has to do, because each page of drawing is an engineering opinion. Yes, most engineers build their houses around 55. Most engineers do not have third road to their houses, and yet we are the one providing all these third roads for people. You don't have water. So why? These are the things we need to go at, and then because there's no time, I would just to finally say that I thank all of you for coming, and I pray that all of you will embrace this our attitude of putting money in our pockets. That is the vision now. Let us own engineering and enjoy it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nani. So, before tomorrow, check where your current stamp is. Whether it is dormant or active. If it is dormant, reactivate it before tomorrow. Okay, thank you. I thank you for reminding me because I forgot to answer that question. Partnership, international partnership is very good.
And members of the high table, thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this presentation. Syndicate 3, and actually we are talking about consulting, contracting, and engineering services firms. It falls directly under practice. One important thing that we should know is that COREN has the power to regulate, all consulting, contracting, and engineering services practices. And therefore, the first thing that COREN should take hold of is to make sure that they start registration of all these practicing firms. I know they have started registering consulting firm, and they have also started registering contracting firms, but we are advising that they intensify it so that everybody is brought the umbrella. When you know their name and you have the registration, then you have the power to control them. So the advice is, and they should also start immediately the registration of engineering services firm too, so that it will all be covered under that. It is only when somebody is registered with you that you have control over him. If they are not registered with you, you basically cannot do anything. So the best way to have is registration. Then we have control. What we are saying is that when they are when you are registering them, you should give them guidelines for practice, mentoring, and training. It should be comprehensive enough to take care of the needs of Nigerian economy and Nigerian engineers. That's very, very important. And the second one is that when the firms are being asked, registered, it's a condition that they should register pair with that when they get a job, even if it's a foreign company, if they get a job, they must pair with local firms in the spirit of local content. By so doing, no job will go without engineers participating. And it should start with registration and control right at COREN, because COREN has the capacity. Then we are talking about training. Hands-on training is very important. And therefore, before you start practicing, you must have training. But what we know is that engineers these days are not patient enough to wait for mentoring and training. They want immediately to register and start practicing on their own. No, the training of practitioners should be made so stringent that anybody that is given the seal cannot fail Nigerians anywhere. So you must go through the mill and have the patience. So it should be made stringent. But we are saying that the internship in attachments and switch training should be intensified. What we have now is that most people are not even doing it. They will go and sit down and come back. Well, you cannot blame them, because we were saying that the opportunities, the provisions are not there. So we are going to give recommendation for that. There should be political will to develop the industries, the infrastructures, and the build sector to provide training opportunities for young engineers. If that one is not there, you cannot train them. How much more of them getting into practice? There should be deliberate effort by the senior engineers to pay the young engineers working under them well, so as to retain them for mentorship. The problem is that most of our senior engineers want to use the young engineers just to satisfy themselves. And it should not be that. If I'm working with you, I want to be a practitioner, you should also be giving me enough to keep myself and my family before I start practicing, registering for practicing. But a situation whereby they are not well paid, it doesn't make sense. There should be political will to give Nigerian jobs so as to train young engineers. That should be our work as NSC and engineers and current to make sure that Nigerian jobs are not going without being trained. There are some challenges, particularly for contracting firms. He said it is capital intensive and therefore fund is a problem. Everybody wants to go into contracting. Do you know the reason why most engineers now are at the consulting is because of the what? The capital intensive nature of what? Of the contracting side. So we should work on that. The recommendation here is that Nigerian Society of Engineers and current should be able to develop method of raising funds. We suggested through Bank of Industry consortium, create something like equipment leasing, so that we'll be able to get people that will move into contracting and form consortium too. Inadequate functional clients. Our chairman said it's not just having a client, but there are some clients that cannot pay you. So only few clients are there to pay. So as long as that is, the practice may not flourish. So we have to use current tools to be able to get that. Then there's what we call delayed payments. And it was advised that when you are going into contract, please, there's a provision that there should be interest on delayed payment. You should make sure that it is there in your agreement. It will help you better. And we made these recommendations too. NSC should work with financial institutions like Bank of Industry to set up equipment leasing companies to mitigate the funding problems. That's one. There should be political will to give Nigerian engineers jobs so as to train the young engineers. 3, there is need to develop local capacity in contracting, and this may require harmonization of procurement and local content laws. It is a very big job, but honestly, if we do not work on doing this harmonization in order to create opportunity for local engineers, we will not be able to achieve anything. Engineering firms should build capacity by availing themselves with the training of the Nigerian Institute of Appraisers and Cost Engineers. For you to be able to be a good consultant, a good contracting, you need to get training on the costs engineering. You need to train on economy. I need even the valuation. So please, there is a great opportunity there. Reading engineering alone is not it. You have to get an engineering plus, and that is what Institute of Appraisers and Cost Engineers are there to do for you. We have to have a training for that particular purpose. Thank you. I'm about finishing, sir. The situation in which BPP is registering and categorizing engineering firms is unacceptable. It is the duty of current, and they should fight for it, because nobody knows the pot more than the potter. Nobody knows the pot more than the potter. We ask question, how do we remove quackery? And the recommendation that engineers should be patriotic and ethical enough to assert themselves in their working environment. Honestly, engineers are not patriotic. We are not patriotic to this profession that we are professing. When you see an engineer in government today, his language is different from the one that is out of the government tomorrow. We don't seem to know that what we build today is for our use tomorrow. So engineers, please, let's be patriotic and ethical enough to preserve this profession, not for only ourselves, but for those that are coming after us. Engineers should work with international standards and ethical practice. Thank you, Chairman. Those are the things that we have.
The various coordinators and those who have presented, because the leaders are not those who have presented. So all the various leaders of the various groups, we thank you for providing good guidance and mentoring for the groups. And for those who have joined here at the high table, thank you for your service to the profession. On that note, we will step aside and allow the chairman of the committee to take over. Thank you very much.
Professor Falodi, thank you very much. Thank you. Your contribution has been so good. Now that ends our session.
2016, 2017 NSC monthly workshops and conferences committee and the entire members and council of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. I want to express our gratitude for every participant. May not be able to record those of yesterday, but those that actually gave us keynote addresses, they did wonderfully for us because they started the day on a good foot, and as well as the 4 guest speakers. They made our day yesterday, and again, some of them join us today to contribute at our various CDK sessions. We cannot appreciate you much, but we are also like Oliver Twist, because February we are having a workshop on SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. We will call you once more. We will invite you, and we hope you will honor our invitations. On this note, I want to wish you safe journeys or journey mercy to your various destinations. Thank you very much.